Port Harcourt, South, Nigeria, or around the world, we've got you covered. On air, online, delivering balanced news and unbiased analysis. Today, 95.1 FM.
This is Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News.
This is the world news on your premium talk radio. Today, 95.1 FM Port Harcourt. I am Amaka Felix. Let's begin with the headlines. River State's government demands refund of 300 million naira hosting rights from NBA. Chief Magistrate Ejike King George voluntarily retires over quasi-military administration in River State. PDP Governors Forum distance South from coalition or merger ahead of 2027 general elections. And on the foreign scene, President of Togo for Nasingwe to head AU's mediation team in conflict between Congolese army and M23 rebel group in the DRC. Details in a moment. The River State government has expressed disappointment over the decision of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, to relocate its 2025 annual general conference from Port Harcourt to Enugu and is demanding a 300 million naira from the body. The government described the reasons given by the association for the decision as misleading, uncharitable and unbecoming. In a statement issued by the Senior Special Assistant on Media to the Administrator of the State, Hector Ibikio Owubo, the River State government, while acknowledging the NBA's right to choose its preferred venue, faulted the association's suggestion that the current administration, headed by a sole administrator, was undermining democracy and the rule of law. The River State government further explained that President Bola Tinubu acted within the confines of his constitutional powers when he declared a state of emergency in Rivers, following what it described as a collapse of democratic institutions in the state. Also defending the sole administrator's leadership, the statement emphasized his commitment to restoring democratic institutions, upholding fundamental rights and respecting court rulings. The government also raised concerns over what it described as the NBA's selective principled stand, particularly questioning the fate of the said sum already paid by the state government for hosting rights. The statement, while calling for constructive engagement, urged the NBA and other stakeholders to contribute meaningfully to the ongoing democratic transition rather than amplifying divisive narratives. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, has clarified that the 300 million naira it received from the River State government was a non-refundable gift and not payment for hosting rights to its annual general conference. The NBA had earlier relocated the forthcoming conference to Enugu State, following the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers. In response, the River State government demanded a refund of the 300 million naira. NBA, in a statement by its AGC 2025 Planning Committee Chairperson, Emeka Obegulu, clarified that the decision to host the 2025 AGC in Port Harcourt was taken in August 2024 and was not subject to any bidding process or payment of any hosting rights. It insisted that recent NBA conferences had been supported by different state governments, corporate organizations, ministries, departments and agencies whose budgets accommodate corporate social responsibilities and share the same vision with NBA. Recall that over the weekend, the NBA declared that the actions of the sole administrator of River State, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, undermined democratic institutions and processes. According to the NBA, Ibas has been operating with disregard for constitutional provisions and ongoing litigation. Chief Magistrate Ejike King George has voluntarily retired his appointment as the Magistrate of River State Judiciary. Ejike King George's voluntary retirement was contained in a letter to the Chief Judge of Rivers State through the Secretary, Rivers State Judicial Service Commission. Chief Magistrate Ejike King George said the difficult and regrettable decision was informed largely by his discomfort with the recent appointment of a quasi-military administration to run the affairs of a modern state like Rivers. He described the current type of governance system as not only alien but also antithetical to the hallowed profession of legal practitioners and adjudicators. Chief Magistrate King George further said, having put in 16 out of his 22 years of legal practice into the judiciary as magistrate under successive democratic administrations, he found it difficult to work with the current setting, as doing so would amount to a tacit and naive acquiescence. He thanked the Chief Judge for the opportunity to serve in his administration. The sole administrator of Emoha local government area in River State, Franklin Ajunwo, has announced that salaries for local government workers will no longer be based on the nominal role, but on actual attendance, as he emphasized that absenteeism will no longer be tolerated in the local government workforce. Ajunwo also assured that all entitlements due to workers will be fully paid, disclosing that the LGA treasurer has been directed to ensure prompt payment of salaries going forward. Speaking during an inspection of uncompleted structures within the council premises, shortly after officially taking over duties from the head of Local Government Administration (HLGA), Ajunwo pledged to put the structures in conditions that would be conducive for council staff. Responding to concerns over the structural integrity of the unfinished buildings, he assured that integrity tests would be conducted.
We need a lot of work to do because the workers must be accommodated to do their work. From what you have seen here, you can see that there are no spaces for the workers to sit when they come to. And if you allow it like this, it does mean we are encouraging them from not coming to. So as quickly as possible, the Director of Works is being mandated to check what it will take to put roof on some of these buildings so that workers can come. We'll get chairs and tables for them. We shall go to integrity test, ensure that there will be no collapse. But while trying to complete them, we shall ensure that they have the capacity to stand and then carry the work.
Ajunwo, a former president of the Nigeria Union of Local Government Employees, NOLGE, River State Chapter, also disclosed plans to restore electricity to Emoha local government area to support business activities and stimulate local economic growth.
We shall make sure that the people of the AGA have light again. Light is very, very important because even the barber, saloon person, those who grind things, they need little power to be able to be in business. So we shall encourage them. And there are people entitled to light. We have also warned the workers, I've told you, that we shall not condone absenteeism. The area where you pass here, it looks like a ghost town. It's over. Vouchers should be closed at most by 10th, 12th. By 15th, every payment vouchers must be submitted to me. You have done treasury, everybody have done a check-in. So that as they go for jack and come back, we have no reason why we should not pay the next 1-2 days.
In her remarks, the HLGA of Emoha local government area, Enome Raymond, expressed optimism about the future of the council under Ajunwo's leadership, noting that his background as former NOLGE president gives workers confidence in his ability to deliver good governance.
My profound gratitude to God for all he has done for us, for bringing our own and elder statesman of the system. We know that, sure, there will be good governance in the LG because he is part of us. And so we welcome him to Emoha local government as the head, and we pledge our support for his government.
Few days after some women who were believed to be pro-Governor Siminalayi Fubara staged a protest along the streets of Port Harcourt, demanding the immediate cancellation of the emergency rule and reinstatement of the suspended governor. Another group of women suspected to be pro-FCT minister Nyesom Wike, under the aegis of Rivers Women for Peace and Good Governance, have staged a rally in support of the declaration of emergency rule in the state. Today FM's correspondent reports that the women marched from the Garrison roundabout to the Isaac Borough Park, displaying placards with various inscriptions claiming the governor turned them into slaves after giving him their mandate. Addressing newsmen, the leader of the women group, Inime Aguma, who is also a former commissioner for social welfare in River State, said they were in support of the emergency rule imposed by President Bola Tinubu, saying the state legislature was clamped down by the suspended governor. Inime Aguma, while advising the suspended governor to go back and make peace with Wike, whom she described as Fubara's boss, also called for an investigation into the bombing and pulling down of the River State House of Assembly complex, including spending by the suspended governor without appropriation, and some allegations made by George Wike.
Our House of Assembly was burnt down. There was a rumor of impeachment. That became a reality. But is that enough to burn down the House of Assembly? While that was going on, the House of Assembly was bulldozed down completely without any care or concern. Taxpayers' money was demolished into rubble. We say that matter must be revisited. Recently, we have had the former head of service, Dr. George Weke, say to the world that the former chief of staff and some other persons, including the suspended governor, were the ones that planned the burning of the assembly. We want the police to follow up on those allegations and prosecute all those mentioned. People talk of state of emergency. It is in the Constitution. Non-appropriation can ginger a state of.
Some other women who spoke at the rally also expressed their support for the declaration and subsequent appointment of a sole administrator, just as they expressed satisfaction with the activities of the administrator.
No more panicking. Before today, they have been panicking upon panicking. Today we hear this story, tomorrow we hear this other story. But today, there is no panicking. You can see the way the women came in their numbers to celebrate what God has done for us. Because it was speed that the president used in bringing out the administrator to come and handle the situation. And we are all happy. We came out from our home to say thank you for the peace that has come back to River State.
If there is problem in River State, as they said, you can't be here. People will not invest in River State. The investors should come. We have peace in River State. We are united people. We are real River's daughter. We tell you there is peace in River State.
We can live, we can sleep, and we're enjoying it. The sole administrator is doing a very good job.
Reacting to the rally by the women, a stakeholder in the state, Chizi Enyi, who insisted the peaceful rally was a confirmation of the peace and security in the state, questioned the rationale behind the declaration of an emergency rule in the state. Enyi, who is the leader of Initiative for Transparent Strategy and Good Leadership, accused the police of bias and urged President Bola Tinubu to cancel the emergency rule and lift the suspension against Governor Fubara.
We are calling on Mr. President to truly see by himself that River State is peaceful. And the sole administrator who has just come is not even helping us. It is obvious now that he is now partisan by a group of persons holding solidarity march in his favor. And we also suspect that the solidarity march was even sponsored, because those who held a protest march last week did it. They wrote a letter for police coverage to the Commissioner of Police, and the Commissioner of Police refused. But for the people who did today, you saw them with many police vans covering them. And we also heard when they were saying that Sam should not come back until he go and beg his organ. Must we continue in saying that grace may abound? There is no ground we will support Sam to go and beg Wike, because neither Sam nor Wike owns River State. And we must also say that the rule of law should prevail.
Some widows in Orashi region have staged the protests calling for the reinstatement of suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara. These widows, who came out in their numbers with placards bearing various inscriptions, barricaded the Mbiama axis of the East-West Road, where some were seen crying. While calling on President Bola Tinubu to bring back Fubara, the widows lamented that some policies which involved provision for widows were halted since the suspension. They also said if the suspension continues, the widows who are helpless may die of hunger, starvation, and frustration.
The way it give us food, then don't come out. So we dey suffer. Our pikin dey suffer. We dey suffer. See our belly hungry where we dey. Our pikin dey for hand. No way to pay for school fees itself. When they bring our SIM back, when they beat us, bring back our SIM. Bring back our SIM. This is our helper. He's our helper.
When the governor, which is a Sim Fubara, was in seat, he looked to pity on the widows and he was paying them monthly. So all the widows were happy for that. And moreover, he has also made a plan for our children. Most of our children, they finished more than 10 years, they are there in the house. But luckily for this short period he came, he has already made a provision for them. So we are thinking that we will go for now. They have stopped, now that they say that should come out from the seat, they are no longer paying us the money. So we widows come here to protest that Sim Fubara should come back to his seat. The police stop us and they put on tear gas.
An unconfirmed report says the protesters, who were over 100 in number, were tear-gassed by security agencies in the area. You are listening to the World News on Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. After the break, more news, foreign and sports stories. To stay with us.
Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today, 95.1 FM.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Olisa Agbakoba, has proposed a 500 trillion naira national budget for 2027. Asserting that such an ambitious fiscal goal is achievable only if Nigeria undergoes deep-rooted political and economic reforms. Speaking during a television program, Agbakoba acknowledged that the proposed figure may appear ridiculous at first glance, but argued that it was realistic and necessary, provided the federal government embraced a disruptive approach to governance and development. He noted that despite decades of budgeting and national development plans spanning over 60 to 70 years, Nigeria has little to show in terms of measurable impact. Agbakoba emphasized that Nigeria's vast resources, both natural and human, were not in doubt, but effective mechanism for harnessing them was lacking. On how to make the 500 trillion naira budget a reality, Agbakoba outlined political governance, economic sovereignty, and tax reform as three key reform pillars. According to him, the current political structure is a major obstacle to progress and must be re-engineered. Amidst ongoing controversy trailing talks of mergers and coalitions ahead of the 2027 general elections, the People's Democratic Party, PDP Governors Forum, says the party is not prepared to join any coalition or merger. The resolution was made in a communiqué issued at the end of the forum's meeting held in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. After the meeting, which lasted about 6 hours behind closed doors, the chairman of the forum and Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, who read the communiqué, clarified that rather the PDP remains open to welcoming individuals, parties and groups committed to rescuing Nigeria and promoting good governance. In the recent Supreme Court judgment on the National Secretary position, the forum recommended that the Deputy National Secretary acts in the position pending the nomination and ratification of a substantive secretary from the Southeast geopolitical zone. On the spate of insecurity in parts of the country, the forum expressed concerns over the rising insecurity, particularly in Borno, Katsina, Edo, and Plateau states. The group called for a review and reorganization of the nation's security architecture, advocating a bottom-up approach that empowers subnational governments to play a more active role in safeguarding their territories. The forum also declared their solidarity for suspended River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara amid the current political crisis and declaration of a state of emergency in the state. The forum announced plans to hold a national meeting on May 27, 2025, where a zoning committee will be constituted ahead of the party's national convention scheduled for August 28 to 30, 2025 in Kano. President Bola Tinubu has given marching orders to the Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang to summon the necessary political will to resolve the crisis in the state and establish enduring peace. The president also expressed profound sorrow over the recent killings in the state, in which over 40 people lost their lives. A statement issued by the presidential spokesman, Bayo Onanuga, stated that President Tinubu, who strongly condemned the violence, extended his sympathies to Governor Mostrang, the state government, and the people of Plateau. In his call for harmony among the people, President Tinubu emphasized the importance of love and unity beyond religious and ethnic lines. He encouraged community, spiritual, and political leaders within and beyond the state to unite and end the cycle of retaliatory attacks that have made life unbearable for affected communities. The Executive Committee of Ibuako Youth Congress, IAYC, has joined in condemning the killing of a former youth leader of Odiade community, Uwetu God Power, by suspected gunmen. In a statement jointly signed by the IAYC President Cassius Wikoro and the Public Relations Officer Solomon Wilfred Unya, the incident, which they described as barbaric and unfortunate, happened midnight on 9th April 2025 at the deceased's residence. The statement, while calling on the police and other security agencies to immediately swing into investigation to bring the perpetrators to book, expressed concern that the killing is a setback to peace building and an act of cowardice. The youth executives, however, assured the people of Iguaco Kingdom, including their traditional council headed by His Majesty Eze Cassidy Ikegbidi, of their collaboration to working with the Nigerian police in tackling issues of insecurity and other crimes in the area. They therefore advised youths in the area to remain law-abiding, stay away from crime, and always engage themselves in meaningful activities to enable them create a peaceful environment for the benefit of all. The executive and entire members of the Ekunda Wuhu Club of Rebisi Port Harcourt has congratulated Chief Dr. Sam Kalagbo on his recent appointment as the administrator of Port Harcourt City Local Government Area by the sole administrator of Rebisi State, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas. The group, in a statement, said the well-deserving appointment benefits Sam Kalagbo's personality and administrative knowledge. A statement jointly signed by the president of the group, Ame Hule Ejigini, and General Secretary Sir Roland Olu, insisted that the appointment will benefit both human and infrastructural development of Port Harcourt City Local Government Area, Rebisi in particular. The statement prayed God to grant Fargo Council Administrator the wisdom to administer the city of Port Harcourt to greater heights. On the foreign scene, the president of Togo, Faure Gnassingbé, will continue the African Union's mediation attempts in the conflict between the Congolese armed forces and the Rwandan-backed rebel group M23 in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. He will replace C, which entered a new phase in January 2025, when the M23 launched a lightning-speed offensive into North Kivu province and took over the cities of Goma and Bukavu. Through Angola's mediation, Kinshasa agreed to direct talks with the rebel group, but talks scheduled to take place in Luanda in mid-March failed when the M23 pulled out at the last minute after EU sanctions were imposed on some of its leaders. For the African Union, leading the peace negotiations has become even more complex due to a parallel mediation process launched by Qatar. At a surprise meeting in Doha in March, the Congolese and Rwandan presidents engaged in direct discussions for the first time since the M23 took over the cities of Goma and Bukavu in eastern DRC earlier this year. To end the news, here is a summary of the major stories. The River State government has demanded a refund of the 300 million naira hosting rights received by the NBA following the relocation of its conference venue from River State. The Chief Magistrate, Ejike King George, has voluntarily retired over what he described as the recent quasi-military administration in Rivers State. We told you that the PDP Governors Forum has distanced itself from any coalition or merger ahead of 2027 general elections. And on the foreign scene, you heard the President of Togo, Faure Gnassingbé, will head AU's mediation team in the conflict between Congolese army and the M23 rebel group in the RC. Stella Sassongo Okorie edited the news. For comments and inquiries, please call 0818-389-2850. Send your emails to news@todayfmlive.com. Read our stories on www.todayfmlive.com. I am Amaka Felix. Thank you for listening.
Today's news, today's entertainment, today's sports, today's issues. Today on Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
What's a successful business without sales? And what is sales without an audience? Well, do you know that you can reach 8 million listeners across 6 states in 2 geopolitical zones all at once? How? With Today 95.1 FM, you can get millions of people to know about your business. And what does that mean to you? More sales. Call 081-389-2850 now for more information.
I tell you, that man a ritualist. You don't ever see as that man dressed like normal human being before. Every time na black, blue. That man a ritualist.
Just leave them. Now so those people will come from that place. Now so them behave.
You see this our neighbor. You see that fair guy where they always they carry laptop up and down. If you observe, he know they go work in the morning, but every time he go they change car. But I don't they observe and since.
I know they there.
Now for you.
But me I know say, you know people where they come from that area. Now so all of them they behave. You know get it anybody fit tell me 9 down.
What is it with all the hate and the way we talk? Hate speech does no one any good. It only makes a bad situation worse. The aim is to stir more hate and anger rather than bring us together. All they want is to set you against your neighbor or even your brother. Will you let them? Hate speech is not just criminal, it is intended to destroy you. Shun hate speech. No one truly benefits. A message from Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Bunkering is a legal act of smuggling crude oil from pipelines and storage facilities, which poses significant dangers to Nigerian society. This activity has different consequences that affect various aspects of the nation's well-being, and it has consequences such as untimely death, environmental devastation. It fuels insecurity. It also damages our infrastructure, and it also damages our international prestige. You might say, how do we make a living if we stop this illegal activity? Well, as a young individual, you can channel your energy into positive endeavors that can help you generate income and create an adequate future for yourself. These are some ideas to help you generate income. You can go into starting a business. You can also acquire digital skills or gain agricultural knowledge or engage in farming. You can also acquire art and creativity. You talk about technology and innovation. Then, skills and vocational training. Please note that success often requires dedication, consistency, and continuous learning. This message is brought to you by your premium talk radio, Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
What do you love listening to? What's your style? What's your choice? What do you yearn for? So we've got great talk, amazing conversations, entertainment, sports, and lifestyle. So tune in to Today 95.1 FM Port Harcourt, because we are the voice of the people. The voice of the people.
Garden City of Port Harcourt, Nigeria. This is Today 95.1 FM.
This is Today 95.1 FM Port Harcourt, Voice of the People. It is time again for a rundown of the foreign news that made the headlines on the world today. I am Amaka Felix. Good evening. In the headlines, Sudanese paramilitaries kill 100 people in the Darfur attack. Somalia launches national voter registration campaign. Former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol to face first criminal trial for insurrection. Orthodox Public Affairs Committee condemns Russia's attack on Ukraine's Sumy city. Details in a bit. Amnesty International says hundreds of people suspected of witchcraft in Ghana, especially older women, are facing rampant human rights abuses, including murder, asking the government to criminalize accusations and ritual attacks. In 2023, the Ghanaian parliament passed a bill making it a criminal offense to declare, accuse, name, or label someone as a witch, but the bill is yet to be signed into law. Amnesty International said the accusations, which can lead to threats, physical attacks, or even death, usually start within the family or among community members, following a tragic event such as an illness or a death. Belief in witchcraft remains common in many rural communities along the West African coast, including Ghana. The Rights Monitor said people accused of witchcraft are usually banished from their home areas, and in Ghana, they seek refuge in camps run by traditional priests, where they remain until they die, or a family member or another community accepts them. Amnesty said Ghana had not done enough to protect victims, stressing the need for a sensitization campaign in vulnerable areas. The Sudanese Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, has carried out a two-day attack on famine-hit camps for displaced people in the Darfur region, killing more than 100 people, including 20 children and 9 aid workers. The United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator in Sudan, Clementine Nkweta Salami, said the RSF and allied militias launched an offensive on the Zamzam and Abu Shorok camps and the nearby city of El Fasher, the provincial capital of North Darfur province. The attack followed an earlier raid on the camps on Friday, in which 9 aid workers were killed. Zamzam and Abu Shok shelter more than 700,000 people who have been forced to flee their homes across Darfur during past bouts of fighting in the region. The Sudan's Doctors Union, in a statement, said 6 medical workers with the Relief International Group were killed when their hospital in Zamzam came under attack. Zamzam and Abu Sharuk are also among 5 areas in Sudan where famine was detected by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, a global hunger monitoring group. The war has created the world's largest humanitarian crisis, with about 25 million people, half of Sudan's population, facing extreme hunger. Somalia has launched a national voter registration campaign yesterday in the capital Mogadishu, marking a major step ahead of contentious local elections set for late June. Abdikarim Ahmed Hassan, chairperson of the National Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, announced during the launch that voter registration will begin tomorrow, with citizens expected to report to registration centers that day. This marks the first time in nearly 5 decades that Mogadishu residents will visit registration centers. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud pledged in 2023 to move Somalia away from its clan-based indirect voting model. The cabinet has approved 2 bills to transition the Horn of Africa nation to one person, one vote presidential elections scheduled for 2026. Opposition leaders, including former Presidents Sharif Sheikh Ahmed and Mohammed Abdullahi Mohammed, rejected the government's plan. They called the move unilateral and warned they could organize a parallel voting system. Away from Africa to the rest of the world, delegates from the United States and Iran have agreed to hold more talks this week after concluding indirect nuclear negotiations in the Omani capital, Muscat. Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs described the talks as having been conducted in a constructive atmosphere and based on mutual respect. Iran had rejected direct nuclear talks, with U.S. President Donald Trump saying it was open to indirect negotiations. Trump and his officials had also insisted the talks would be direct and in the same room, but Tehran had stressed that the negotiations would be indirect. Omani Foreign Minister Badr bin Ahmad al-Busayri acted as chief mediator, taking messages between the delegations who were sitting in separate rooms. Iran has emphasized that the talks will solely be focused on its nuclear program and not its military capabilities or its axis of resistance of aligned forces across the region. Shortly before the talks, U.S. President Donald Trump again warned Tehran of military action if a deal is not reached. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has declared that the relations between his country and the United States is going back to normalcy. During a panel discussion at the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, Lavrov blamed the Joe Biden administration for the strained Moscow-Washington relationship in recent years. The Russian top diplomat accused the past U.S. government of minimizing the communication with Russia, calling its attitude a disgrace. Lavrov observed that since President Donald Trump returned to the White House, his actions toward Moscow marked a return to normalcy. Lavrov also knocked UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron for planning to send peacekeepers to Ukraine ahead of a possible ceasefire. The minister noted that President Trump seemed to understand much more about what was going on than any European Union country. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has warned that protectionism leads nowhere and that a trade war would have no winners. Xi, who said this while in Vietnam on the first leg of a Southeast Asia tour, is also scheduled to visit Malaysia and Cambodia as Beijing seeks to tighten regional trade ties and offset the impact of huge tariffs unleashed by his U.S. counterpart, Donald Trump. Xi earlier urged the two countries to resolutely safeguard the multilateral trading system, stable global industrial and supply chains, and cooperative international environment. Beijing is trying to present itself as a stable alternative to an erratic Trump, who announced and then mostly reversed sweeping tariffs that sent global markets into a tailspin. Former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol will face his first criminal trial for insurrection tomorrow after his short-lived imposition of martial law in December, which plunged the democratic country into political turmoil. Yoon sought to impose military rule on the country when he ordered the suspension of political activity and the censorship of media on December 3. The decree lasted just 6 hours as it was voted down by opposition MPs. The disastrous attempt led to Yoon's impeachment by the National Assembly shortly thereafter, with the Constitutional Court fully stripping him of his presidential duties on April 4. Although he has lost all presidential privileges, Yoon still faces a criminal trial on insurrection charges, which will kick off tomorrow. During a preliminary hearing in February, Yoon's lawyers argued that his detention had been procedurally flawed, an argument accepted by the court, leading to his release 52 days after his arrest. He was detained in January in a dawn raid after holding out against police and prosecutors for weeks, becoming the first sitting South Korean president to be arrested. If convicted, Yoon could face life imprisonment or even the death penalty. Hungary's parliament is expected to approve constitutional changes, further clamping down on rights for LGBTQ people and other groups, part of Prime Minister Viktor Orban's Easter cleanup against his domestic opponents. Since his return to power in 2010, Hungary's nationalist leader has widely restricted the rights of the LGBTQ community, the media, courts, and academia. In mid-March, he referred to critics as stink bugs, vowing that an Easter cleanup was coming. The constitutional amendment, which proclaims that people can only be male or female to be voted, echoes moves on gender by Orban's friend, U.S. President Donald Trump. The amendment also allows temporary stripping of citizenship from some dual or multiple nationals, which could target billionaire George Soros, a Hungarian American and a regular subject of populist conspiracy theories. The Orthodox Public Affairs Committee, OPAC, has condemned the brutal and disgraceful attack carried out by Russia on Ukraine's city of Sumy on Palm Sunday. The committee said what should have been a day of peace, prayer, and spiritual reflection at the start of the Holy Week became a day of terror. In a statement, the OPAC expressed regret that civilians, many of them Orthodox Christians, were killed as they gathered to worship. OPAC urged political leaders to speak up and advised all people of faith and conscience, Orthodox or otherwise, to stand against the unending violence. That story from UN concludes tonight's edition of The World Today, as produced by Odinakachi Celestin of the News Department. But before we go, here is a summary of the stories that made the headline. Sudanese paramilitaries kill 100 people in Darfur attack. We told you that Somalia has launched national voter registration campaign. Former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is to face first criminal trial for insurrection. And finally, we told you that Orthodox Public Affairs Committee has condemned Russia's attack on Ukraine's Sumy city. Till same time tomorrow. To have a lovely evening and thank you for listening.
.365 days around the clock, around the world, non-stop talk, news and sports, the latest hit and the greatest memories on radio, serving our community, spreading love and color, because we are Today 95.1 FM, voice of the people.
Becoming free, it's the grace of God. Talk radio.
I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
It's the second anniversary of the war in Sudan this week. The army has retaken the capital, but is there a danger of a permanent divide as the rapid support forces attack a refugee camp in Darfur in the west?
The real issue is not just at the military or political level. If it falls, the region would plunge into full-scale ethnic violence. Given the history of the RSF, it's the civilians who are suffering.
What happens at an Antarctic research station? We'll hear from a South African scientist. And why is talking about the menopause so difficult?
In some cultures, there's not even a word for menopause. And because women's sexuality is still very taboo in many of these cultures, they tend to suffer in silence.
That's all on the BBC Tonight in Focus. First, the news.
Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. More than 10,000 people have fled Sudan's largest refugee camp over the past 2 days after an attack by members of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Doctors Without Borders says the civilians have left Zamzam in the western region of Darfur and moved to the town of Tawila. Camila Mills reports.
Zamzam refugee camp used to provide a temporary home to 500,000 people, many of whom are facing famine-like conditions. The fall of the camp has upended their already precarious existence. Doctors Without Borders says 10,000 civilians fled not just the camp, but the region to the town of Tawila, more than 70 kilometres away. It's not known how many travelled the shorter distance to the regional capital, El Fasher. News of the attacks comes on the eve of the second anniversary of the start of Sudan's civil war.
A court in Washington has been told that Meta bought up Instagram and WhatsApp after its attempts to compete with the platforms failed. The US Federal Trade Commission is suing the tech giant, arguing the acquisitions unlawfully quashed competition. At the opening of the case, the regulator's lawyers argued consumers did not have reasonable alternatives. Meta, which also owns Facebook, says rivals such as TikTok and X prove there is competition in the market. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, has called for Ukraine's allies to put Russia under maximum pressure to end the war. It comes amid widespread outrage over the deadliest Russian attack on civilians this year, when missiles struck the northeastern Ukrainian town of Sumy. Poland's Foreign Minister, Radek Sikorski, said Vladimir Putin might be wasting President Trump's goodwill.
Ukraine unconditionally agreed to a ceasefire over a month ago. The heinous attacks on Kryvyi Rih and on Sumy is Russia's mocking answer. I hope that President Trump and the US administration see that the leader of Russia is mocking their goodwill, and I hope the right decisions are taken.
Russia's Ministry of Defense said it had targeted a meeting of Ukrainian military commanders. The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, reinforced these comments.
In this case, we're talking about the course of a special military operation, and here we need to focus on the information provided by our Defense Ministry. You know, we do not comment on military operations. I can only remind you of the repeated statements of both our President and our military representatives that our personnel strike solely at military and military-related targets.
Japan's population of ethnic Japanese fell by a record amount last year, reflecting its declining birth rate and ageing society. Excluding foreign residents, the population fell by almost 900,000 in 2024 over the previous year to just over 120 million. It's the biggest fall since records began in 1950. Including foreigners, it was the 14th straight year of decline. World News from the BBC. The UN says more than 60,000 people have been displaced by last month's earthquake in Myanmar. Using new data from remote sensing equipment, the UN Development Programme said there was around 125,000 truckloads of debris from collapsed buildings that needed removing. The 7.7 magnitude quake killed more than 3,000 people. Markets in New York have reacted positively to President Trump's decision to grant tariff exemptions to smartphones, laptops and semiconductors, notably those produced in China. The tech-heavy Nasdaq index jumped 2% in initial trading, while the Dow Jones was up nearly 1%. Indices in both Europe and Asia are up. Pope Francis has placed the celebrated Catalan architect Antoni Gaudí on the path to sainthood. He's been declared venerable in recognition of what the Vatican said were his heroic values. Gaudí's most famous work is the unfinished Sagrada Familia Basilica in Barcelona, a work that helped earn him the sobriquet God's Architect. A 6-woman crew has returned to Texas after an 11-minute rocket flight lifted them 100 kilometres to the edge of space. The American pop star Katy Perry could be heard cheering as the Blue Origin rocket, owned by the Amazon owner Jeff Bezos, blasted off. His fiancée, the journalist Lauren Sanchez, was one of the passengers on the brief trip. She spoke of her experience.
I looked out the window and we got to see the moon. It was almost full and Earth looked it was so quiet, but then also really alive. And you look at it and you're like, we're all in this together. So all I could think about is like, we're so connected, more connected than you realize.
High-profile travellers are intended to maintain public interest in Blue Origin's work as it competes with rival firms such as Virgin Galactic for a slice of the fledgling space tourism sector. And that's the latest. BBC News.
Hello, I'm Audrey Brown, and today in Focus on Africa, 2 years of war in Sudan. Is the country in danger of a permanent split as a refugee camp in the west comes under attack? What is it like to work at an Antarctic research station?
Antarctica is a continent of extremes. So generally you either faced with that fierce wind, but at other times it's wind still, so the only thing you can hear is the ice or the snow crunch underneath your footsteps. It's a really interesting and extreme environment to work, but it's one that you never forget.
We'll hear more from a South African scientist. And why don't we talk about the menopause?
Unfortunately, a lot of women suffer in silence with the symptoms of menopause because women's health is still very taboo. In some cultures, there's not even a word for menopause.
It's Monday, the 14th of April. First, we go to Sudan. It's the second anniversary of the start of the war in Sudan this week, and the week began with more civilian blood being spilled. More than 100 people, among them at least 20 children and a medical team, have been killed in a series of assaults that began late last week in the western Darfur region. The United Nations says the attacks were launched against 2 camps near the city of El Fasher, as well as on the city itself. The paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, have been blamed for the deaths. On Sunday, the group said it had taken control of Zamzam, which is one of the camps, but denied reports of atrocities. More than 700,000 people, many of whom are facing famine-like conditions, have been bombed repeatedly in the past. News of these attacks come on the eve of a conference here in London, and it is ever bloodier and ever more dangerous for civilians as the two sides try and gain territory while diplomatic efforts to bring peace flounder. Nada Wani is an independent researcher and consultant on Sudan. She's been reporting on the conflict since it began. She told me about conditions in the camps before these latest attacks.
Zamzam is around 15 kilometers south of El Fasher. El Fasher, of course, is the capital of North Darfur. So it was established in 2004. It was in response to sort of the influx of IDPs displaced people from the war in Darfur, the war which broke out at the end of 2003 between Bashir's regime and the Darfurian armed movements. And so it's literally one of the largest internally displaced camps in the country. And in recent years, it grew to house around over 500,000 individuals from different ethnic groups.
And what's the humanitarian situation in the camp right now?
Recently, of course, especially because of the war, it's been really bad. I mean, I think in August 2024, the Integrated Food Security Phase classification, it classified famine conditions. It confirmed actually famine conditions in parts of North Darfur, including in Zamzam camp. So the humanitarian situation has already been really dire, even before the recent attacks. It's been reported that people have been eating leaves. So it's literally one of the areas, Zamzam camp is one of the parts of North Darfur where famine conditions have been already confirmed.
So tell us what happened in recent days.
I mean, the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, launched a series of attacks on Zamzam and on other camps. There's a nearby also camp called the Abu Shok camp. These have resulted in the deaths of, the numbers are not accurate, hundreds of civilians, including children, including aid workers. Relief International has already confirmed, this relief organization has already confirmed the loss of its entire medical staff at Zamzam, the destruction of its clinics. So thousands of civilians are now forced to literally walk on foot towards El Fasher city, which, as I said, is around 12 kilometers away from the camp. And this new displacement is coming in the context of, as I said, already dire humanitarian situation. I mean, the IDPs there have already suffered a serious lack of basic services. I mean, basic food, water, medical services. and for days and weeks and months there's been random shelling and bombardment at them as part of the besiege of Al-Fashir. You have to place this, what's happening in Zamzam, as part of the 1-year besiege of Al-Fashir that the RSF has been carrying out against the city. And there are reports also that the RSF forces have prevented a large number of civilians who've been trying to escape after the recent attacks from leaving the camp, which is, of course, just added to their suffering.
What does this actually mean in the context of the political situation in Sudan right now and the fact that this week is the second anniversary of the war?
It's like another chapter of the war and another chapter of this attack on civilians. This war at many levels has been an attack on Sudanese civilians, not just between the warring parties. And militarily, we've got to view it and situate it, what happened as part of the siege of Al-Fashir. Fashir has been sieged for like almost a year now. It holds strategic importance for both warring parties because it's the last major sort of urban center in Darfur, which is not under RSF control. So RSF controls all of Darfur except for North Darfur and the Fashir, its capital. And recently, as I said, the RSF has been escalating its attacks on key military, key civilian locations in different areas of the country. But of course, focusing for them, this battle of Al-Fashir is really important. And one reason behind this is that Hemeti, the RSF leader, needs to show his base who are disappointed with the loss of Khartoum, the recapture of Khartoum, the capital by the army, that he's still in the fight, he's still proactively attacking sort of other important areas. So militarily, the RSF needs to consolidate their control over the west of the country, mainly in order to establish this sort of alternative power base to Khartoum and to create its parallel government. The critical hotspot to keep an eye on during the next months will be this battle for Al-Fashir. And as I said, for nearly a year, the city has withstood this sort of relentless siege.
Do you think that the Sudanese army can take it back? Or does this actually represent a de facto and almost irrevocable split in the country? In other words, can Sudan be a unified entity in the near and medium future, if ever again, after this?
I mean, for the army, militarily, for a year, they've been together with the forces that are allied with them, who are called the Joint Forces. These are various Darfurian armed groups that have allied with the army. So they've succeeded so far in sort of thwarting these attacks, in sort of forestalling the city's fall. But for General Burhan, the army leader, securing Al-Fashir is also central to SAF because it would consolidate the army's strategic gains in Khartoum, in Jazeera, and across central Sudan in general. And more importantly, a military victory in the west, including in ensuring that Al-Fashir does not fall, would significantly strengthen the army leader's hand in any future negotiations. And as I said, for the RSF leader, the stakes are just as high. But should Al-Fashir fall, local Darfurians warn, the region would plunge into sort of a full-scale ethnic violence. I was talking to some people on the ground there, and they literally said the conflict will turn into a straightforward civil conflict there. Given the history of the RSF, it wouldn't mean a de facto split of the country. What would happen, I think, is that the RSF will announce its new government because now it would have control over the whole of Darfur, including Al-Fashir. But politically, this act, forming a new government, would have been more effective and created sort of more political pressure if the RSF had announced it from Khartoum when they had control of the capital. But with Khartoum recaptured, with the sort of the army's military gains, its announcement would have much less political weight. Importantly, there are already some accusations by some of these joint Darfurian forces, the ones who are fighting with SAF, that the army is not doing enough with regards to the RSF attacks on Darfur. So they've been unhappy for some time about it. But the problem is that with this finger pointing, with this exchanging blame, it's the civilians who are suffering.
Nada Wani, an independent researcher and consultant on Sudan. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to work in the uninhabited continent? In case you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's Antarctica, a continent of ice and birds and some animals, but no permanent human population. There are people who go there to work, and it is there where we are going now, through the eyes of a South African scientist who has spent months out there. David Heading is a geomorphologist. He studies rock formations, and he took us to the cliff edge of one of the most remote places on Earth, where the South African Antarctic Research Base, Sanei 4, is situated. The place came to our attention in rather unfortunate circumstances last month when conflict broke out among the 9-member research team there. We are not reporting on the incident or the circumstances around it, but we were interested in what life was like for a very small group of people working together under intense weather conditions for long periods of time with very little contact with the outside world. And this is where Professor Heading comes in. He had nothing to do with the clash in March, but he has been on 2 missions to Sanae 4 before. He's a professor of geography at the University of South Africa. We started our conversation with a recording he had made of him stepping from inside the compound to the outside. This is what greets you. Extreme cold and swinging winds blowing at 65 knots or 120 kilometers per hour. That's 75 miles an hour. That's the equivalent of stepping into a hurricane. A very, 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 and I can't stress enough, very cold hurricane.
Yeah, it is bone-chillingly frigid. You have multiple layers of clothing, from base layers to fleeces to thermal outer gear. It's quite extensive, the amount of gear that you have to wear.
And how long can you stay in that weather, in that wind, before you will die?
It depends on how strong the wind is, because that determines the wind chill factor, but anything from a few minutes to maybe a few hours if you're lucky, but then you'd be facing severe frostbite and exposure.
So tell us about the research station in Antarctica where South Africa is operating. Apparently it's in a very remote location in the region. What's it like there and how do you get there?
So to get to the Sanae base from South Africa, we leave Cape Town Harbour, and it's approximately anything up to 25 days sail down to the Antarctic continent. And once we're close enough to the ice shelf, we can then use helicopters to fly across the Antarctica to the Sanae 4 research station, which is about 220 kilometers from the ice shelf.
So when did you go for the first time?
I did my first trip to the Antarctic in 2006. It was an amazing experience. You only really realize how small you are in the world until you've been to the Antarctic.
What do you mean by that?
So when you go to the Antarctic, as far as you can see, it's just ice, but there are certain areas where you have nunataks, or essentially the tops of mountains which stick out of the ice, and they break the white barren landscape. Some of these mountains are tens of kilometers away, so that you really get a sense of how small you are as an individual, because you can just see so far.
And is it the same all year round, or are there seasons?
No, there are most definitely seasons. As with most international science programs, we go in the austral summer, so that will be from the end of November through to the beginning of March, so that we can maximize the amount of daylight that we can use and the warmer temperatures. The Antarctic has extreme seasonality in that you have no sunlight and the temperatures are extremely cold, whereas in summer you have 24 hours of daylight and the temperatures are sort of bearable to enable you to work outside for extended periods.
What's bearable?
Generally, the temperatures hover around 0 degrees on most days, but you can drop down to below 0, so -5.
So that's summer.
Yes, that's summer. Antarctica is a continent of extremes. So generally, you either faced with that fierce wind, but at other times it's wind still, so the only thing you can hear is the ice or the snow crunch underneath your footsteps. It's a really interesting and extreme environment to work, but it's one that you never forget.
So what is South Africa doing there on the space?
The main sort of thrust of the scientific program at the moment is monitoring of space weather, because it has implications for communication platforms, and then as well as geological research, where we're collecting samples to look at how the Earth has changed over time in terms of tectonics, so how the continents have shifted over time.
How does the work that you do there benefit South Africans, the continent, and the world?
The Antarctic is a continent that is extremely sensitive to any shifts in global climate, which makes the Antarctic a very good barometer for monitoring change. By understanding how the Antarctic responds to climate change and changes in ocean currents, etc., we can feed that information into global climate models and sort of global responses to climate change. And that benefits the society in Africa and specifically South Africa by giving us a better understanding of how global systems operate and how those systems will respond to any changes.
Now, the reason why we're talking about this is because of an incident that happened in March where one of a team of 9 people was accused of physical assault and there were allegations of inappropriate behavior. Firstly, just in your experience, is that uncommon to have such a serious fallout and essentially what seems to be antisocial behavior in a small team?
I haven't heard of many instances where it has happened, but it has happened, and it also happens in normal working environments across the world. So it's not strange. The only difference is that, unfortunately, these team members are very isolated from the rest of the world, and it creates a very unsavory working environment. But hopefully these issues can be resolved in a timely manner and appropriately so that the team can function and focus on their work.
So what kinds of qualities do you think you need to have in order to survive that and to keep your eye on the prize, as it were?
I think it comes down to 2 things, patience and dedication.
That's the geomorphologist and professor at the University of South Africa, David Heading. If I asked you, what do you know about the menopause, I bet you'd say that it's got to do with older women and not being able to have babies or something. Even less is known about perimenopause, the period leading up to the end of a woman's reproductive age. We're talking about it now because it's not spoken about enough. A study carried out in 2022 found that nearly 60% of women between the ages of 35 and 45 didn't realize that they'd already started the natural journey to the end of their menses, which can be challenging because it's not spoken about openly. And without proper care, the impact on mental, sexual and emotional health can be long-lasting. Faranak Amidi is a BBC journalist and she's interviewed women around the world about how menopause and perimenopause is changing their lives, health and relationships. She told us a bit about what they told her about body confidence, intimacy and the lack of understanding many feel about knowing their own bodies.
Unfortunately, yes, still a lot of women suffer in silence with the symptoms of menopause because women's health is still very taboo. Anything related to our menstrual health and then the menopause, it's still very taboo in many cultures, including Iranian and Afghan culture. I can imagine many African cultures as well. In some cultures, there's not even a word for menopause. And because a lot of the symptoms that women experience has to do with their sexuality, and women's sexuality is still very taboo in many of these cultures, and just generally talking about sex is very taboo in many of these cultures, especially for women. They tend to suffer in silence. I talked to a GP based in UK called Aziza Sasai, and that's what she was saying, that many women in many cultures believe that sex is painful, and therefore if they are experiencing pain during menopause, they actually believe that it is their duty and responsibility to just get on with it to please the men in their lives. And in a world where women are valued for their beauty, and beauty is defined by youth, there's no surprise that women may lose a lot of their self-esteem with menopause, which comes with quite a lot of physical change, like weight gain and the texture of your skin and the texture of your hair changing, and just moving away from what is known as youth and entering your middle age and then moving towards older age. A lot of women feel like they are losing a lot of their value because they are valued based on their beauty. So in a world like this, we do see a lot of women losing their self-esteem, and with it their righteousness to pleasure, because it is very common when you don't have a lot of self-esteem, you do not consider yourself worthy of pleasure as well, and sexual pleasure definitely has got a lot to do with your self-esteem as well.
That's the BBC's Faranak Amidi. Dr. Mary Musa is the head of consulting at Capital Advisory Africa Health Business. She took up some of the issues raised by Faranak. We began our conversation by discussing why it is important for young women and other women and men to know about the menopause.
It's important because, unfortunately, there is very little light shed on the matter. And growing up, I could see like the aunties and even the grandmother going through the symptoms that they could not explain quite well. Of course, they don't know what a hot flash is, but they would be like, I can't bear the heat, it's too much. You can see the mood swings, you can see the relation is changing with their relatives, the production level reduces, their relationship at work reduces. I grew up and I could see it's affecting women at every aspect, at home, with friends, and they could not explain it. And there was a very little understanding of how the hormonal reduction in a woman's body can actually attribute to all of those symptoms.
Why should young women care about this? Because as far as they're concerned, and I'm not saying all young women, but when you're young, you just think that these things are never going to happen to you. You're never going to die. You're never going to be perimenopausal. You're never going to be undesirable in the eyes of society because you would have, lost the ability to have children.
You're not fertile
exactly.
anymore. Yes.
So young
yes.
women and young people in general, they don't see into the future being older. So why should young women care about this?
They should absolutely care because of many things. One of them, as I have mentioned earlier, some women get premenopausal symptoms even at the age of 30. So they need to also anticipate that I could be one of those. Two, it's important for women, and this is a practice in Africa. This is how our community work as well. We support each other. So we need to be understanding where the older women are coming from, and we need to understand why they are having certain changes in their behavior and their personalities, because this is what we are seeing from the menopausal symptoms that are evident. The young women can support others into increasing the awareness about perimenopause and menopause symptoms. Even if we have the males not necessarily understanding or going through those symptoms, we need to carry the burden of increasing the knowledge and also supporting in those terms.
Now, there are also social consequences to this, and, women are expected to sort of accept the social isolation that may come with this if they are deemed to be undesirable because, they may have lost a partner or they've not been married earlier, so now people feel like they're beyond the pale, they're not sexually desirable anymore, and also they're not entitled to have those feelings either, or to get the attention of a romantic partner because they're past it now.
That is very true, and we have seen that with many patients. So usually they face two issues. The psychological issue again, or the social actually. The social burden of thinking like if you're not fertile, you do not qualify to be in a romantic relationship or find a partner, which again, we have a role to play to change that mindset and support our women. But another thing is, unfortunately, because of the hormonal decline, it becomes a little bit harder to be engaged in an intimate relationship. You will find the intercourse becoming a little bit more painful. And again, women do not seek medical advice and they keep it to themselves. You will find a lot of women not seeking relationships or finding a partner because of that.
That's Dr. Mary Musa, Head of Consulting at Capital Advisory Africa Health Business. Focus on Africa was created by Patricia Whitehorn and Bella Hassan here in London. Carney Sharp was the senior journalist. Pat Sissons, the technical producer. Andre Lombard and Alice Muthengi are our editors. I'm Audrey Brown, and we'll talk again next time.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Say no to the ordinary. Embrace the extraordinary, because we are the voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today, 95.1 FM.
Port Harcourt, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. This is Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
What do you love listening to? What's your style? What's your choice? What do you yearn for? So we've got great talk, amazing conversations, entertainment, sports, and lifestyle. So tune in to Today95.1 FM. We're talking because we are the voice of the people. The voice of the people.
Red is passion. Pink is for unconditional love. Blue is for loyalty. While black is secretive and mysterious.
Baby, tonight,
Let's talk about love. The passion, the bliss, the betrayal, and everything in between. On Lovey Dovey. Mondays to Thursdays from 11 p.m. beneath the night sky with the Amaka Felix on Today 95.1 FM.
Consisted our youth and some of our adults, their ear is pinned to rap music right now.
Approximately 624% more likely to separate from a woman if the woman gets sick. If a man becomes terminally ill and his wife becomes the caretaker, there is a 2.9% separation rate. Now, men need marriage more than women need it. The things that men get from marriage, the sort of stereotypical things, are still really important for the man, but the things stereotypically a woman was getting from the marriage, she now doesn't actually need that stuff from a man. She can kind of get that herself because society shifted where it's not a case that the woman stays at home and raises the kids all the time. Now the woman's got her own money, her own independence, she can leave you.
I think that's true. For a man, a wife may be the only confidant. That's not true for women. Women have much better social support. But men and women both equally need high-quality relationships, which is a different conclusion, really. Both men and women really need committed, loving relationship. But, guys can survive in a relationship that is not as good, and they can get a lot out of it.
Well,
whereas women can't.
They need somebody to, oftentimes, though this is changing, but they need somebody to cook. They need somebody to clean. They need somebody to do their laundry.
Listen to them.
To listen to them. To help them sometimes solve work problems, or at least listen to their stresses.
Now, men.
Looks like we made it. Look how far we've come, my baby. We might have took the long way, but we knew we'd get there someday. GC, I did. You'll never make it, but just look at us holding on. We're still together, we're still going strong. You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life.
You are still the one I want, baby. You're still the one I want for life. Hey, have you made your choice? Have you told yourself that this is the person you want? Have you decided on who your significant other is going to be? Well, if you haven't, don't worry. Take your time. No rush. No rush. Like, yeah, there's no point in rushing, because at the end of the day, please, who rushing here? Beautiful people, how are you doing? You're welcome to tonight's episode of Lovey Dovey. You and I are going to do what you and I have got to do, my darlings. We're going to do what we have to do. And tonight on the table, we're asking a very important question. I'm asking, and we're discussing, then you answer, because this conversation is very important. I posted this earlier on, I think on Facebook. I dropped it on WhatsApp. The responses have been crazy because those people have just been saying lots of things. But I think more people voted that women need marriage more than men do, which is laughable, because the realization of our Africanness. I mean, I don't think that we would do this thing where we accept the truth. I think for us as Africans or as Nigerians, it is difficult. I've noticed that it is difficult for us to come to the terms with some of the things that are staring us right in the face, the things that ordinarily we're supposed to look through and accept. Right now, that's the problem. That's where the problem is coming from. So, who needs marriage more? Would you say men? Would you say women? That's the conversation on the table tonight. That's the question I'm asking. I did ask on my social media handles earlier, and the responses I'm getting, of course, a lot of men are saying women need marriage more. And I have more women saying both men and women benefit from marriage. I don't know why men have decided that they do not want to they don't want to see these things, right? But I'm going to be saying lots of things today. And please, whatever you're going to say, I'm open to, when I open the phone lines for you to call in, I'm open to for you to call in, for you to text in. I'm open to dialogue. I'm open to you telling me what you think, how you think it, why you think it. I'm open to all of that, right? But please try and be objective. Move away from your gender. Try to move or see past your gender and look at it from the standpoint of a human being, a normal thinking person. I'm not saying an abnormal thinking person or anything, but a normal thinking person. Move away from your gender bias. Avoid the gender bias. Drop it. And just highlight, dissect, analyze this matter as it is on the table. Now, when people say that marriage benefits women more than men, I wonder how. One of my friends who responded to this question when I asked, he said in Western countries, women, and I like the fact that he was specific. I like that he said in Western countries, marriage benefits women more than it benefits men. Because in this, our dearly beloved Africa, hey! Okay. So there's an expose I'm going to read for you. So this subject has been widely argued with narratives swinging both ways. In Africa, especially in Nigeria, it is widely believed that marriage favors women more. Hence, the reason women in Nigeria are groomed to be wives from the moment they are born. From the moment a girl is born, she is raised to believe that everything she does is centered, is tailored, is pointing, is leading to her final destination. Her final destination is not a career in, high-flying places. Her final destination is not a political ambition. Her final destination is not becoming a top-tier businesswoman. Her final destination, according to the African Nigerian climate, is marriage. There's a clip trending on Instagram. I would have played it for you, but the guy said what he said in Igbo, and I know those of you don't understand Igbo, so I'm not even going to bother, because it's not like I can start translating anything now. It's not like my Igbo is great. Okay? Forget about. Just forget about. But what I'm saying is, for women, right? The traditional African society has made it clear that a woman lives to be married. So, as a girl child, you are taught to wash plates from when you can hold a plate, when you can stand, when you are tall enough to reach the sink, or when you can sit on a stool and hold the plates without breaking them. You are taught to wash plates because you wash plates in your husband's house. You are taught to wash clothes because you wash clothes in your husband's house. You are taught to clean the house because if you don't clean it well, is this what you do in your husband's house? You are taught to learn to cook because the only way to a man's stomach is, the only way to a man's heart is through his stomach. If you don't cook well, another woman will do what? Snatch your husband. You are not taught to cook because cooking is a survival skill that you need as a human being. You are taught to cook because you will cook for a man who will become your husband, right? And cooking is one of the ways you will safeguard your family, you will build your home. Now, these are the things that we have been taught. This is the way a conventional Nigerian girl is groomed, right? To believe that marriage is the ultimate achievement. So that is why we get a lot of body shaming, a lot of marriage shaming for women who are above 30 and unmarried. That's why when this subject comes up, you begin to hear various narratives, and they make it look like it is a crime for a woman to be above 30 and unmarried, because that is the narrative that has been sold largely. Now, men, on the other hand, are taught to provide and take the lead, right? Still, in many cases, women have been asked to step in, step up, take up the role of provision to make their marriages work. Marriage is seen as the ultimate achievement for women. Is this a proper view? That's where the problem comes in. So there's this group on Facebook. It's called Female in Nigeria. Maybe you are familiar with this, maybe you are not. If you're a man, you cannot check it out because it's for women. But here it is. In the past week, I've read really disturbing stories for women who have been married for years. Honestly, I don't even know how they have managed to stay put, because the things that people go through in marriages these days will literally make you question the entire essence of marriage. If you are not somebody who believes that, look, there's a reason God instituted marriage in the first place. If you cannot find your footing properly, if you cannot find a balance, right? You misstep, you go fall. What's that thing that Sabine said again? Go stagger. So you go stagger, because it's a whole lot going on and we don't understand it, but it's crazy, really. It's crazy, it's disturbing. And until we can do something to change the narrative, guys, we're going to remain in this perpetual darkness. It's alarming. I've read stories where women took up the responsibility of providing in the name of, their husbands fell short. They decided to help. There are men who have literally abandoned everything to their wives to do. So my question is, if as a man, the role of provision, one thing is, I was just telling someone a couple of minutes ago that, look, the reason, while women is, I like the fact that society has done this thing, yeah? Because while women are collecting, men are also collecting. where the society has cautioned women to believe that marriage is the ultimate achievement for them, the society has also conditioned men into believing that, into tying their whole worth to provision or to their ability to provide. So if a man is not providing, he's seen as useless. If a man is not providing, it feels like he's not a man. Where a man's worth is measured or it's tied to his ability to provide. So that is where we are. That's what the society has done. Don't forget that you and I make up members of the society. So it is the things that we have said, it is the things that we have put in place that people are now living by, right? So that's on the one hand. Let's look at it. When women are now made to step in. If you say that marriage benefits women more than it benefits men, there are a lot of questions that you would need to answer. I had a conversation during Today's Woman. Many of you are familiar with a pregnant woman who recently died. Her husband was unable to pay 500K. Both of them were unable to bring 500K. Hospital said this, hospital said that. Allegedly. The woman child don't die. Woman died. Baby died. Okay. Here we are. And so I had that conversation because some people said, oh, look, if women decide to marry for money, do not blame them. Because when a woman marries a man who cannot provide financially and she begins to have children for him or by him, she's literally putting her life at risk because complications can arise. And if the man cannot pay, what's going to happen next? So we had that conversation during Today's Woman, and some of you had a lot of things to say. Some people who called in, had a lot of things to say, and those who decided to misunderstand because Nadem Sabi, and then they did what they did, but we're able to clear the air, basically. And I said that, look, generally, there's a thing where you feel that this should be the norm, right? But what happens when the norm begins to become the abnormal or it just changes? Because if we insist that men should provide while women should use what has been provided, if men are unable to provide, women are now made to provide and still do the other things expected to them, the other gender imposed roles. So what happens? During the conversation on Today's Woman, we talked about a lot of things. And I mentioned that one of the narratives flying on social media following the death of that pregnant woman is that if a woman spends money, if a woman if she fixes the hospital bills, if a woman is to have a baby and then she's paying the bills, she pays for her antenatal, she pays for her pregnancy routine drugs and all of those things. Because some women said, look, if I do everything by myself, you will give me belly. Contribute, do anything. So in addition to carrying the child to full term and having the child and risking my life, I'm paying the bills, I'm paying antenatal, I'm buying pregnancy routine drugs, I'm paying for CS if I do CS. If I don't do CS, I'm paying for hospital, whatever. The child is going to bear my name. Because why I go suffer finish and then the child is now bearing your name and it's, And so that's like a narrative, that followed the death of the pregnant woman. And I asked that question during this Today's Woman. I said, what do you think about it? Where it would it out of place for a woman to say, look, because I did all of this, why should this child bear your name when I'm the one who did everything? And you know one funny thing we do in Nigeria? If I'm British, right? If I'm British and my husband is from Cross River, for instance. This is one thing I find funny. If I'm British and my husband is from Cross River, for instance, my child will be referred to as half British, half Nigerian, right? My child will be referred to as half British, half Nigerian, or half British, half Cross Riverian. But if I'm from Anambra State and my husband is from Delta State, my child will not be referred to as half Anambra, half Delta. My child will be referred to as what? Half as Delta. So it should just be where are you from? Delta State. There will be no half Anambra, half Delta. That's it. That's how we do here in Nigeria. So we don't do this thing where the woman's state of origin, where children share the state of origin of their mothers. There's no such thing. A child belongs to the father. A child is given the state of origin of his father. A child will continue the lineage of his father, not his mother or not his mother's father. That's the norm. That's how we do it over here. And so, when people ask who benefits more from marriage, do you still think it is women? When I asked this question, I expected people to come out and tell me what women benefit. So people are now saying that, oh, women get to be cared for. They get to be pampered. That women get to be cared for, they get to be pampered. Men are providing. So because men are providing, women are just, men are sacrificing everything. So women are just on the receiving end, basically like that's it. And I'm like, okay. But have we taken the time to look at other factors? So if we remove provision, it's the fact that a woman will get married to you, begin to have your children. I know that you will say the children is for both of them. We know that it's for both of them. But deep down, in this Nigeria, do people agree that the children belong to both of them? Do we really agree that the children belong to both the man and the woman? Because I don't like a situation where you guys accept this thing, or you bring up this narrative of the children the children belong to both of them. Two people came together to make a child. When you people say that, it's given like it's selective. You people say it when it's convenient for you, not when it is. You don't say it all the time. It's not something you say all the time, and I feel like that's you being partial, because you know that deep down, if the argument, some men do not even let their wives give their children names. That's how bad it is. So if I don't get to name a child that I birthed, a child I pushed, and you say it is because of what now? I'm not naming the child. The child will not be associated with my state of origin. So please, no vex. Between me and you now, who don't benefit more from the marriage? Answer it with your church mind. Don't answer it from any biased point of view. Answer it from a church mind. The fact that you get to prolong your family lineage, not mine, because the child bears your name. I'm not taking the child to my father's compound. The child is not going to bear my father's name, except I'm a single mother and my baby daddy is irresponsible. So I now say, okay, I want to just carry my child and give to my father's name and give to my father's people. That's a different thing altogether. But in a marriage, the child is going to bear your name. The child will be associated with your family, with your lineage, with your state, with your people, with your umunna and your umada. So I don't understand why you don't think that's a thing. If you talk about companionship, if you want to talk about companionship, we understand that it is innate for humans to desire companionship. So both men and women desire companionship. Who can live without each other in old age? Check the stats. You people say that men suffer, and so that's why men die earlier than their wives. Lately, they've been pushing the narrative that, oh, look, go ahead, take care of yourself as a man, because if you don't take care of yourself, your children will take care of your wife. They'll not take care of you in old age. Or men die earlier, and this one and that. And I'm looking at you, I'm like, where is all this coming from? In this place, a woman can be widowed, and she will remain a widow for the rest of her life. How many widowers can remain widowers for the rest of their lives? How many widowers can successfully, single-handedly raise children into adulthood? But widows are doing it every other AK market day. I'm not saying that widowers don't do it, so don't even get me wrong. I'm saying check the stats. I'm not saying we don't have widowers who are doing an excellent job at parenting, being both parents for their children. I'm not saying we don't have such men. They exist. I know a couple of widowers who are doing a fine job with raising their children, but them no plenty. That's the point. We're doing statistics here now. So go and check. There are just a lot of things that marriage affords you men compared to women. There's just a lot of things. Basically, what you need as a man is to just be able to provide. That's it. But as a woman, you need to be able to cook. You need to be able to clean. You need to be able to wash the compound. You will climb GP tank. You go wash them. You will mop the fence. You will wash the compound. You will do what? You will cook for the community. You still come and carry belle. Your life and death, you will burn the children. After burning the children, you will still do what? You will still come and raise the children. Because it's one thing where the society expects the woman to do the bulk of the raising. They say that somebody just told me a couple of minutes ago that women bond more with the children. So women have that love. That one of the things that women benefit from marriage is that their children bond. They bond with the children, so they are loved. They have more love from the children than the man does. I'm like, hey, what stopped you from being a good parent? Who said that fathers cannot be good parents? That fathers cannot be loved? There are children I know who love their fathers more than their mothers. Look at me. I'm such a daddy's girl. Like, because please, don't even do that thing where you want to make it look like fathers do not get love from their children. If you are a good father, why will your child or children not like you or love you? Be a good father. That's the bottom line. Some fathers are terrible. Some fathers are tyrants. How is a child supposed to love a father who is a tyrant? Please. Some mothers are also terrible. And go and check. Mothers who are terrible, their children do not love them. Their children do not love them. So it goes both ways. There's also a whole lot. For me, while I would say that marriage, of course, benefits both men and women, I would place the men over the women. I would say that marriage benefits the women more. The men more than it benefits the women. There's just a whole lot that a man is expecting. It is in this same society that a man would decide to get married because he's looking for who to come and do his laundry. You hear, I don't tire today, do all this. Every day they find waiting to chop. Ma do marry, I beg. Every day they wash clothes, make I do marry, I beg. Why? Because he knows that in a wife he will find a laundromat woman or a laundress. He knows that in a wife he will find a chef. So it's like getting everything. It's like buying one, get one free. Buy two, get one free. That's like what marriage does for men. These days, you do not even have to have such money. You can have a semblance of being financially capable of taking care of your family, and that's all. You are good to go. We know that this is what is in truth. This is what is in existence. So why we choose to insist on the things that we insist on, it beats me, because I feel like we've gotten to the point where we should tell ourselves the truth. I don't know why we would refuse to accept these things. I know that marriage has uses for men just as much as it has uses for women. But I would say marriage favors men more than it favors women. I can count how many things I'm looking out for. No, I can count how many things that marriage will do for me right now. I told the person that, somebody who spoke about finance, spoke about saying that women can just rest. Women can marry a rich man to escape poverty. And I said, we have moved past the era where money is seen as money is not gender specific or gender defined. Money is not restricted to men. There's no rule that says only men can make money. In fact, look at me. I'm inside your ear. At almost 12 a.m., I'm talking to you. Because what? At the end of the month, they will do what? Inside my account. They will do green inside my account. So I'm making money, my darling. I'm not plenty. So in case my destiny helper, you can listen to me. You can still collect you can still ask for my Aza. Do you understand my point? No, I'm just saying, I had to put this out there, please, just so you don't come under the illusion that I have a lot of money, because I don't. Okay, I don't. Just in case, you want to bless my life. But I'm just saying that no, we have moved past that era. Men make money, men provide. Women make money too, women provide too. I know a woman who has more. In fact, I know a lot of women who have more money than their husbands. They are providing. So yes, we have moved past the era of, men are defined by, what's it called now? The importance of men, or the importance of marriage to men. We have moved past all of that. If it is money, women make money too. So we would need to find, for those of you who bring the whole money argument, you would need to find a fresh, argument. You need to find a fresh piece to bring to the table, because this one's outdated. Women are making money more than men in some cases. So we've moved past that whole men can do this and women cannot do that, and women lie. I know a lot of men can clean for themselves. Some men can do all of that. There are men who do not even need women for cooking and cleaning and stuff, because they are sufficient in themselves. They can do those things. But how many of those men exist? How many of those men exist? Some of these men can cook, can clean, can bobo tibo, but when they get married, they will still relegate those responsibilities to the women, to their wives, and say that these are her roles as the wife. So as a wife, you are expected to cook, you're expected to clean, you're expected to do what? Wash. So here, this is it. That's what we're saying. So what applies for this gender also applies for the other gender. Two things. Is it that we're going to make it equal, or we place it above? We just say the truth. Women and men, who benefits more from marriage? Take out the gender bias and think about the facts thoroughly. Think about the things that you now know, the things you have come to see as the truth. And I'm very sure you would come to the realization that men benefit more from marriage than women do. There are very few things that I would say women get from marriage. If it is money, a woman can make it for herself. If it is having a man to sleep with, women no longer need men for sex. Women no longer need men to have children. If I want to have children, I can get a sperm donor. If I don't want to use a sperm donor, I have a couple of. There are men who are willing to have their babies by me. Okay, I'm joking. But I'm saying that really, to have children nowadays, you do not even need a husband. If you know what I mean. You guys know that it's the same way a man does not really need a wife to have a child. You can actually just get a woman pregnant. That is if you're not interested in the sanctity of marriage and, the whole home thing. So, this is what it is. So, I really don't think that we should do these things where we do not want to be honest. Please, remove the gender bias, like I've said. I'm going to open the phone lines now because we don't have so much time. I'm going to open the phone lines shortly. So, remove the gender bias. And when you call in, please keep your comments brief. I'm looking to talk to as many people as possible before we go. And messages can start coming in. Send them to 0701 9339 962. 0701 9339962. Okay, send me your text messages, send me your regular messages, your WhatsApp messages, telling me who you think benefits more from marriage? Would it be men? Would it be women? Whatever you're telling me, please tell me with facts, okay? Give me reasons. Don't just drop men there or drop women for me. I will not read your comments. I will not read your message. I will just walk up pass, okay? Now, I'm on Facebook. I'm live on Facebook, so I'm going to quickly say hello to the people who are watching. So I'm seeing Ikenna Oduago. Hello, how are you? There's Toya the Sire. Hello, my dear. There's Darlington Uday, my very own Uday baby. Okay, so hello guys. Keep watching. Yeah, so time to open the phone lines. 0817 00951, 0810 9510951, 0817 00951, 0817 0810 So here are my questions for you, beautiful people. What benefits does marriage bring men? Okay, so first off, who benefits more from marriage? Would you say men? Would you say women? I don't know. When you choose, let me know. What benefits does marriage bring men? If men is your answer, you will tell me. If you say that marriage benefits men more than it does women, so what are the benefits that marriage brings men? I'd like to know. And if you say women, if you say marriage benefits women benefits more from marriage, what benefits does marriage bring women? Okay, so try to keep your comments brief, straight to the point. Let's get it done so we can, just be happy and have fun. That's the idea. All right, let's get started. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Amaka.
Good evening to you. How are you, Tanya?
Yeah, I'm fine, and you?
I'm all right. Welcome.
I'm good. Good to know that. Yes, Amaka. See, gone are those days when they say men benefit more. I see the marriage. Are you listening? Yes. Within the marriage circle, I see the man as forced between equals. You get what I'm saying? Because definitely in every organization, in every area, there must be a head. That does not mean the other person, the next person is subhuman or whatever. So for me, I will give you an example why I feel both of them, benefit. Maybe 40, 50.
40 for who?
45 years, 55. Because of
45 for who? 55 for who?
Yes, 55 for the man, 45 for the woman.
Okay.
Yes. So when we are in the north, in Kano State, I'll give an example.
Quickly, please.
We had a one Calabari man from Abonima. He is married to a Yoruba woman. You know that the four children asked the woman to name the first names after her origin, place of origin, Yoruba. The first son name is Kuli, while the second one is Adebayo.
So they gave them Yoruba names.
Yes.
That's where the woman is from.
Pardon?
That's where the woman is from. She's Yoruba.
Yes, she's Yoruba.
Okay.
But the one is a Calabari man.
Okay.
So then the other one is Mumisi. But the only thing they bear the surname, Black Book. So when it comes to these days, even these days now, you see the women are working, men are working.
Okay.
If there's understanding.
All right.
There's bound to be, help me help you.
All right.
You don't need one person here to overwork himself, to do everything for herself. Like the woman, he allowed the woman because she's working, she's bringing. She has so much to bring to the table, and he's overlook her. Gone are those days.
All right.
There's proper understanding.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Toye. Okay, keep your calls coming in and messages too. Keep it coming. The earlier the better, please, for messages. All right, the earlier the better, so I can read your messages. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Yes, please.
Hello, good evening.
You're welcome.
Jeff Solomon. This matter now, marriage is but the economy the situation of things has led marriage to as if marriage is so embarrassing. So, as how the men feeling, that is equally how the female are feeling about marriage. Some men, they will say, I want to marry. What is the need of marriage? Some women also, they will say, I will remain like that. I will remain like that. But as God made men and female, marriage is good. If you begin to follow the challenges, hate to get married. So, the nature is fighting men today. Yes.
So who benefits more from marriage, according to you?
The benefit of marriage goes for the female and the man. And if a woman gets pregnant by a man, and maybe the nature from men, the pregnant women, maybe the women will say that the man has run away. Not that really the man has run away, but maybe he has no money. And the men are hardly before they will speak out, and the woman may not understand.
Okay.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
All right.
To get a man pregnant outside the marriage.
All right. Thank you, Chief Solomon.
If the thing happens, DNA, that's what they call DNA. That's why we have.
Thank you, Chief Solomon. Thank you.
Also have DNA.
All right. Thank
so
you.
We should reason to get married.
All right.
Marriage is an achievement. It's an achievement. So people see that as not achievement. I've seen a man.
Okay, Chief Solomon. Thank you. So I can talk to other people. I can talk to other people. Thank you, Chief Solomon. We've gotten your point. All right. You say marriage is for as an achievement. Okay, no problem. Wahala no day. All right, keep it coming. Keep your calls coming. Let's talk. Hello. Good evening.
May the peace of the Lord be unto you, my dear, and unto the entire house.
Welcome, Music Emperor.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm okay. You good?
Okay, I'm good. That's my girl. Okay. First of all, I'm good, though, but yesterday, I was thoroughly insulted. I've never been this insulted. I was insulted yesterday. Thoroughly. Anyway, that aside, because I'm fine. I'll handle it. Anyway, now, first of all, I've stayed on this because this conversation has popped up before now. And I've said any marriage that one party benefits more than the other, that marriage is there is crisis. There are crises in that marriage. Okay, you say something about the foreign, the Western world, and the women benefit more than the men. That is why the rate of divorce is 50 raised to power 95. You understand? The divorce rate is high. Now, even now, Nigeria now is about to beat them in that rate now. You understand? Because one person benefits more than the other. One person takes the whole brunt, while the other person just why the other person is going. Of course, that marriage is so. Now you say something about the woman providing and all of that, the man not being able to provide. Do you know that even where the foundation of the marriage is understanding? I guess we all know that the foundation of every successful marriage is understanding. Do you know that that kind of marriage now, as far as there is understanding now, the reverse is if the woman was to provide or be the sole provider, the reverse is to be the case whereby the man should be the washerman, the washerman of the house, the cook. In fact,
but how many times do we see that happen?
That's what I'm saying now. That is why there is problem. That is why that is where the problem is.
So let me understand what you're saying. Who benefits more from marriage according to you?
According to me, it should be on 50-50 to 100-100. See, so that's what I was saying. See, if if there is understanding, a very great level of understanding, I mean, the reverse should be the case. I mean, so as far as the wife is a provider and all of that is one going to work, coming back. I mean, two suppose get for grand as they come back. I mean, you're supposed to prepare a meal, make sure the house is neat, spray and air freshener everywhere.
Okay.
Make sure she goes to take. Make sure she goes into the room to take a shower. Prepare, just go and do that and prepare a dinner while she's coming downstairs. Prepare a dinner. Prepare a sumptuous dinner. Food already, everything is set.
All right.
So the foundation. So any marriage has one person benefits more than the other. They are Christ inside of it. So for me,
okay.
100 to 50 to 50, 100 to 100. Everybody is happy. That is how it is. That is how it goes.
All right.
By the way.
All right. Thank you.
Just to fulfill me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, keep your calls coming and keep your messages coming in too. 070193399962. That's for regular text messages and WhatsApp messages as well. The earlier the better for the messages, please. So keep it coming so I can read before we go. We don't have so much time today. Okay, so for calls 0817 0000951. And then there's 0810-951-0951. Okay, so let me know who benefits more from marriage according to you. If you say it's women, what benefits do they derive from marriage? If you say it's men, what benefits do they derive from marriage? Hello, good morning. Oh, I'm so sorry. Try calling again. Let's see. Hopefully we can talk to you before we go. So let's know who you think benefits more from marriage. If you think that it's the men, let's know. If you think it's the women, let's know. You are entitled to your opinion. I'm going to ask you further questions. If I do not understand, and if I want to disagree with you, I will disagree with you. Same way you can disagree with me, right? But, we'll just do that respectfully and stuff. Because at the end of the day, we're all entitled to opinions. And, oh yes, I have a lot of messages to read from WhatsApp. So I'm just going to be reading some messages from WhatsApp and, so I can take your reactions. Those of you who have texted on WhatsApp so far, I'm going to do your reactions. Okay. I'm going to take your reactions from WhatsApp so I can get that done. It's a whole lot going on. And largely, like I said, the fact that we think that women benefit more from marriage is actually laughable. It's actually laughable because you have to move with the tide. The scene of the world is changing. And because the scene of the world is changing, things are changing as well. So you should change with the things that are changing. Move with the world. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chisom. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm very fine. Thank you. To me, it's the men that benefit more.
The men benefit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
That we do pretend he benefits more. Just that the women look at it on their head as if the children belongs to them only.
Sorry, who carries it on their head like children belong to them only?
The women now.
The women?
Yes.
No, that's because they've been saddled with the responsibility of raising them now. You know how they do this thing where they tell the women are expected to raise the children. So it just feels like it's a woman's job to raise the children alone. So maybe that's why it's looking like women are taking the children for themselves. Abi? That's what you're saying.
Yes. Okay, but the men, men we like to how like to this now. We don't like our name to die. To want people that will stay and tell our story, tell our history, make our name to continue to win. So that's why I say it's the men that benefit more.
All right, thank you.
I'm very sad today. I want you to do something for me. I need to do it.
What is that?
Okay, just give me a kiss now.
Which kiss? Biko, bye bye. Good night. No, absolutely not. Bye. Good night. Thank you for calling, my dear. Thank you so much for calling. All right, my darling. Okay, let's see. I have a couple of messages here, so I'm just going to say hello to. Okay, there's Japheth Ogbondamati on Facebook, and I want to say bye to my Facebook people because I have lots of messages to read on from WhatsApp, and I want to rush to that area right about now and read the messages I have on WhatsApp. But I've said what I've said, and I've given you the gist as it holds. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Yes, please. Good morning to you.
Good morning, the gorgeous Amaka Philip.
Good morning, dear. How are you?
I am trying to be at least half as fine as you. Yes, so. Like, okay, let's see. Nails check, as bright and flashy, white, beautiful, nice. And then this your gown and, sorry, is it jeans you're putting on or leggings?
It's leggings and a top, sir.
The leggings, okay, and the top is, I mean, you're giving me this kind of vibe, like, this kind of casual day dressing, but ends up in a kind of night. But anyway, good morning to you, Amaka. How are you doing?
I'm very fine, Casey. I'm waiting for you to tell me. So drop your contribution. I'll come and be going, please.
Oh, goodness me. I miss you.
Okay.
Isn't it white child?
Yeah, no.
And I love your hair.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, marriage, who benefits more? The woman or the man? Let me come from this angle. In a world where surrogacy is almost like
it's dominant now, yeah.
Normal thing. I mean, you big it from men, or would I say, yeah, some men do it. Surrogacy, give me a child, get love. I give it amount of money, get love. Don't contact me, don't contact the child, and all that. And also, in a world where you have lots of single moms, and you begin to, and these single moms are busting their head, hustling, and they're raising their child or children without a father figure. I mean, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead quickly, please.
Yeah. So, I will not say I would say they both benefit more, personally. I would say both of them. I can't say one for the other.
Okay.
Yes, I can't say, yes, for me, it's both of them. And then, lastly, talking about that name stuff. Right now, this naming of a thing is, I don't know, but it's something that is no longer in vogue. My in-law, right now, his children are answering his own name. And guess what? He's coming from a polygamous family, and they had a family name of Ibirika, from Ibirika to Emmanuel, and now his children are answering his own name. So you can imagine that change. Who would now remember that their ancestral name was Ibirika? No one. So this naming thing, for me, I don't know why we are carrying it on our head. For me personally, I would name my child an Igbo name, and if my wife is from Delta or Edo or Hausa or Yoruba, I would definitely give all my children a name from my wife's side. Thank you very much, Amaka.
All right. Thank you, Casey. This message from Viga says, the way it's meant to work, both are to benefit. However, whoever benefits more depends on their motive for the marriage. All right. Thank you for texting, Viga. Here... Let's see, there are so many messages here. Azu texting from Lagos says both, though in some cases, women. CJ texting from PH says both. I don't think it's beneficial to one gender over the other. Grace texting from Abbas says men benefit more from marriage. Okay. Wendy texting from Abuja says men, I'm the one that will leave my father's house to come and help someone else to continue his father's lineage. Okay, thank you for texting, Wendy. Okay, Here we go. This one is from Ben, texting from PH. Ben says women benefit more from marriage. UD texting from Abuja says, okay, both benefit more from marriage. Women, okay, woman go born finish. She and the baby will now be feasting on the man's money all their lives. The man will have the baby and wife to bear his name. Okay. All right, that's on the one hand. Thank you for texting. Thank you for dropping that in. Okay, Philip texting from Enugu says, okay, he wrote, okay, so he wrote, women benefit more from marriage. Wise men don't marry. Modern marriage is a trap. It's not beneficial to the common man. I cook and watch. That means I don't need marriage, right? Wahala day. Okay. Choice texting from Lagos says, women benefit more. Women benefit everything. All the love from kids. They're more healthier. Every single thing that has benefits attached to it favors the wives more. What do men benefit? Okay, no wahala. Let's see. This one is from Sandra. Okay, this one's a long read though. But I go run now. Men benefit more. Women do not, because they live in constant fear. Women are directly or indirectly trained for their husbands. Men were only taught to provide for the family with so many choices of having another woman if need be. Women lose out because if a man mistreats a woman at the age of 60, she can't find another man to marry her if she decides to leave the marriage, leaving her with the choice of remaining with the man or being single. And the popular thing, even from the society, when the man and his wife is at any occasion, they are identified as Mr. and Mrs. with the man's name and his surname, leaving the woman with only Mrs. to her identity. Women are often questioned by the society if she decides to carry on her father's name and not her husband's. The society expects too much from the woman, leaving her to live for her husband and children, undermining herself. Even if she chooses her career, she must consider her family, now in marriage, its partnership, while the issue of loss and gain is not necessary. It is because, as transactional as men make it to be, they lose physical things in marriage. A woman loses herself. Majority. The reason we have high number of divorce today is because women want to be happy in marriage, but men do not want it. In marriage, there are rules and a box already set for the woman. She is forced to learn, relearn, and unlearn. A man is only asked to make decisions if adjusting if he wants to. A woman loses her body when she gives birth. A man retains his penis until aging. But for me personally, benefits in marriage comes in only when the marriage is transactional. If not, nobody benefits, nor does anyone loses, because it's a sacrifice from two persons who decides to become one for the purpose of multiplication, love, and support. Okay. Beautiful people. You see this message here? Did sum it up nicely. It summed it up nicely. A lot of things that you will consider. The way the society has made it very, very clear that, look, this is what women are expected to do. If a woman does not change her name to her husband, sometimes we have women even attaching their husband's name to their to their already existing names, and you hear the society question them. Oh, this one and that one. Why do you not remove your father's name? Oh, that's not right. That's rubbish. That's this one, that. So when a woman gets married, she basically loses her identity because what? She don't marry. How many men lose their identity when they get married? Women identified, or like the message I read, yeah? She might have said, you go to an occasion, it's Mr. and Mrs. John Akubeze. You will not hear Mr. and Mrs. John and Fina Akubeze. Most likely that's what we do around here. I think we should just embrace it. Let's be open about it. Let's be honest, please. And like I said, it's not be fight. So take out the gender bias and look at the facts and figures before you. Look at the things that are predominantly in existence in our dearly beloved society, and you will see who actually benefits more from marriage. Beautiful people, I said we're going to have a short episode tonight for reasons beyond my control. So we're having a short episode, but I'm super glad that I got to do this with you. Amazing people. Let's do this again later tonight if everything goes according to plan. I'm Amaka. I'm your delectable host of Lovey Dovey. Okay, so make sure to keep listening to Today 95.1 FM all day, every day, as we serve premium content. You already know we serve premium content, my darlings. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure to stay safe, okay, and keep it locked with us right here on Today 95.1 FM. Follow me on everything social media. On Facebook, Amaka Felix. On Instagram and X, the Amaka Felix. Okay, on X is Amaka Posakot. All right, my darlings, enjoy the rest of your day. From me to you, it's a good night and then good morning.
Trying to hold my breath, let it stay this way. Can't let this moment end. You set off a dream, getting louder now. Can you hear it echoing? Take my hand, will you share this with me? 'Cause darling,